Sarah, I'm so happy to have you on the show because there are so many things I want to ask, and I have been quietly kind of watching your journey over probably the last 8-9 years, something like that. We've known each other or been in each other's orbit, and it's just really lovely to have you on. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Feel so thrilled and privileged to be here. So thank you.
My pleasure. It's you came to mind actually because it has been quite a journey for you. You know, we are in lots of similar circles, circling the kind of spiritual, money, well-being, online business, femininity, like all of these kind of things, the place where they intersect. And I see you pop up in lots of different places, and I've always loved you and I've always loved your work. And it feels like over the last year particularly, there's been a real shift in your energy, and also from actually watching your post and what you're saying, the impact of that, the results of that, the implications of that have been very tangible and very real. And so I'm really excited to kind of ask about like what changed.
A lot changed really. I think I think things started to shift probably just before the pandemic, when I basically froze at the keyboard and couldn't move my fingers, and I couldn't get out of my chair to go to a networking meeting that I was doing a 10-minute talk on something I could talk about in my sleep. And I was just paralyzed. And I rang my doctor, and I went the next day, and I just completely fell apart. And she said, menopause? And I said, yes, absolutely. And I cried for an hour, and she knows me very well, and she was wonderful. And I just knew that that was a very pivotal moment, that I just had to start to putting myself first. And I'd always said I did that, but I really didn't. And my doctor is wonderful. She said, like, I can't prescribe you HRT because of your health history. I've had cancer diagnosis, high blood pressure since my 30s because of this renal artery thing, and all sorts of kind of weird family kind of renal things. I said, it's fine. But she said, you probably don't want to take what else. So I said, just hand it over. Give me whatever you can just to get me through this. And it was great. Like, for about 6 weeks, I took something, and it's sort of something in the antidepressant range, which I'd always refused to take, all through postnatal depression with 4 kids and things. And I started to get a little feeling of what I felt like. And after a while, it started to peter out. It sort of like to plateaued out, and it's fine. I thought, like, I've done it now, and I thought, I'm going to get to work on me. And I had some trauma therapy and she said, like, Sarah, you've got complex PTSD that you've never addressed. You've done little band-aid things, you've done lots of courses, you've done lots of things, but we need to roll our sleeves up and get to work. And it's going to take a very long time. I said, okay. But like 6 months later, she kind of discharged me and said, like, you're kind of okay. I said, I am, because I got to work on me as well. I didn't just hand myself over to somebody else. I just got to work on me and did actually a lot of coaching, a lot of really deep coaching with great people, different people, and did some work myself, started studying trauma and somatic work and processing and all sorts of things that I'd just done surface stuff with before. And I just went deep. I studied trauma of money. I just studied all sorts of things. And so it just started a bit of a journey on sort of finding out what was really going on, because I knew I can't properly help my clients to make money in their businesses if I'm not healing myself along the way. And I started noticing sort of how much trauma so many business coaches were creating in the online space, like how much shaming was going on, and really recognize where I was possibly doing it as well sometimes, and how that needed to change. I'd always called myself, I run a holistic health business for 25 years before transitioning into life coaching and business coaching, but I realized I had, I always called my work holistic, but I thought, like, okay, it's time to really make this holistic, not just mindset. I've done a lot of mindset trainings and stuff, not just the mindset and the strategies, but the energy stuff as well has to be there. And that's the spiritual stuff. And that kind of has to be there as well, because you can't coach somebody out of when their nervous system is activated. We need other tools, and we need sometimes. So I often say to my clients, you know what the solution is? Just, yeah, go to bed. Yes, go to bed. Go take a nap. Go take a nap. Just walk away and stop. And then last year, but just under a year ago, I got COVID, and I think I'd been through 2 years of cancelled flights. I live in West Cork Island. I'm from Australia. We were meant to be flying to Australia for my mum's 80th a couple of weeks after the pandemic started. And then my mum got diagnosed with breast cancer and went through bilateral mastectomy, chemotherapy, radiotherapy in her 80th, whilst turning 80. And I couldn't get there for any of those things. And it broke my heart. It really did. And I've got wonderful sisters who took great care of her. She wasn't missing out on anything, but I was. And I think by the time that ended and I finally got there and I spent 2 months there, it was great. And then I came back and then I got sick. I got COVID and it was fine. I got through that. Every 6 weeks afterwards, I got sick again. I got all the symptoms back again, and some weird symptoms like my skin hurt when I was drying it, and I got this pain in my stomach, and not the typical kind of COVID signs. And it was the same thing every 6 weeks for months and months and months. And my friends and people, we got a lot of doctors in the family and stuff, and they're like, you need to go to a long COVID clinic or something. I'm like, no, I don't. No, I need to figure this out. And I just knew there was like the universe was just trying to get my attention and say, listen up here. And what I kept saying was like, I haven't figured this out yet, but I will. But there's something I'm not getting, and I'm really open to hearing what that is. And I'm not going to try and control it from a medical sense or anything. And that I'm really, really grateful that I keep getting sick from something I can recover from. Because I've lost a lot of friends over the last few years. They haven't got to my age. I'm 57. And I'm really, really grateful that I was getting these messages and that I was paying attention. And then finally, it was sort of probably just under 6 months ago, it happened again. And I'm just like, okay, I'm listening. And I just thought, I'm just surrendering. And I'm just going to go delete a ton of shit that I'm doing in my business. I thought I had simplified my business, and I just asked myself, what if I radically simplified things? What if instead of, doing a workshop with the landing pages and all the things and everything and all the email lists and all the everything and all this autoresponders and everything, I just showed up and did a Facebook Live and spoke about what I wanted to speak about, and just 24 hours beforehand just put out a post, I'm doing this, who wants to come? And then I created I sort of let go of a lot of things that I had been selling. I thought, well, what if I just sold one thing? What if I just sold? And I thought, what if it was actually called Simplicity? and I just shared this process. And, the next month, January this year, I went away for 3 glorious weekends, lovely 5-star hotels around Ireland and with mastermind buddies and things like that. And I had 101K in US dollar sales month, and in like 2.5 weeks. Like, and I did the same thing for the next month as well. It wasn't just a once off. And I thought like, this is better. This is better now. And so many people started messaging me saying like, what are you doing? Lots of people that are like my mentors for the past and everything were DMing me and go like, tell me a bit more about this Simplicity business. And I'm just like, yeah, it is possible for things. It was only when I started to really listen and go like, okay, what's really going on here? I just have to really let go. And it just sort of kind of came through me that like, there were three phases to this. That it was, the first one was the releasing thoughts and things. So like, what thoughts and things am I actually hanging on to, and just go like, let those things go. Like I had thoughts about the way that launches had to go or the way that things had to be sold. And I thought like, I'm just letting go of all of that. And then the second one was reinvent. And I've been speaking about reinvention for years. But nobody was particularly interested, and which was really funny. They liked it. They're like, I'm going to pay attention to that once I've made my business successful or once I've done something else. That sounds like fun. It was like one of those kind of like, that would be nice, but like I need to concentrate on the real things right now. But I thought like, Well, that is actually a really important part of this. So all that stuff that I've been doing for years wasn't in vain. It was all part of that. And it's just the reinvention to your next level identity of who you already are, not like to who you're becoming. Like you're already that person, but it's just what's possible when you do let go of all the stuff that you think you need to be doing or thinking or whatever. And then, and the third stage is the receiving stage, of course, receiving what, that next level identity is what's already there for you. Because like all those clients, all that money, that was already there for me, but I just was
But it
too
had to be already there.
trying to control everything.
Massively change anything, right? Like you didn't do you didn't get new audience in. It was already there. So I want to backtrack. So I love all of this, by the way, and thank you for sharing the full detail of the whole thing. I think it's really lovely for people to have context and to kind of hear that. And I'm also curious, what is sacrosanct to you now? And is it different from what you would have said was sacrosanct before?
Oh, that's such a good question. Spaciousness is so, like, as soon as my schedule starts to fill up any bit too much, or there's no, like, a couple of years ago, I started working like a 3-week month and having the last week of each month as an implementation and integration week in all my programs. And it was the time where I could be creative or go to bed or get on a plane or do whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
And over the last couple of years, that kind of, it's not that it got eroded, but it's thing that started filling up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, no, we're not doing that. And it started like somebody said, oh, I really need to talk to you about something. And I'd be like, oh, I'm all there for you. But it's about, like, I suppose it's boundaries. It's boundaries, and it's letting go of that sort of people pleasing or the fear of people won't like me or won't want to pay me if I'm not there for them all the time when they think they need me. And really, that's just all a big story in my own head. And it's just like what sacrosanct is being such an incredible custodian of my space and my time and my energy and my mental health, really,
Yeah.
and my physical health and my
I think
spirit.
it's really interesting. Like, so when you were busier and before the pandemic and the stuff with your mum and your own health and like all of the little dominoes that led you to a place of this is a priority. I need to simplify and create spaciousness. Before that, if someone had said to you, just need to clear out your life and create spaciousness, what would your
fuck off?
Okay, this is important, right? Because so many people in my life are like, it's all right for you, you don't have kids. It's all right for you, you live in Spain. It's all right for you. Like, they're like, without believing me when I'm like, you don't understand. It got to a point where I had to create spaciousness. Spaciousness doesn't appear in your life, right? It doesn't just stroll in. Lie on the couch and like come and like arrive in your life. Spaciousness is created, and it requires some radical boundaries, right? Not just like for some people, taking a week off where they don't speak to anyone a month is a big deal. Like for some people, giving themselves half a day a week where they don't have children, where they're not doing chores, where they're not making money, where they're just doing nothing, feels impossible. What do you say to those people?
What I say is I get it. I was in a castle in the middle of Ireland last week with 3 mastermind buddies, and we just go away together. It's a peer mastermind when no one's paying anybody. We just go and find a nice space and we hang out together for a couple of days and do some masterminding. And I said, like, several times throughout the day, I will go like, I should be at home. I should be home making dinner. I should be in the kitchen. And I could say that's come from rearing 4 children and everything, but it comes from like, my mother and I both still laugh about how we still think like that, because when Dad drove in the driveway, had to be busy because we were rejected otherwise if we weren't being valuable in our own minds. And it runs deep. That conditioning really runs deep. And it's not just in our own lifetime, it's generations of it with women and everything. So I think that this is the real gift of perimenopause and menopause and I think it's the real gift of having brain fog and anxiety or depression or whatever at this time as well, is that it forces us to stop. I mean, the reason that our estrogen is rapidly declining in our 40s and 50s is it has a purpose to it. It's so that we stop doing. Estrogen is a nurturing, caring hormone. It's so we stop looking after everybody else and start. We're meant to be internalized at this age. We're meant to start thinking about our own needs and not put everybody else first. So I think we are like just fighting nature a whole lot of the time, trying to be what society thinks that we should be. So I think it's, yeah, what I would say to those women is like, I really get it. I understand. And but it is possible to navigate your way out of it. And are you going to wait till you get sick or not? Or are you going to, like, what's it going to take? What's it going to take? For me, I kept getting sick, but I was really fortunate, although I've had enough health diagnoses not to need that. But for me, that was what I went through. But I'd say to other women, you have a choice. Nobody's going to knock at your door and say it's time to start putting yourself first, and and the thing is, if for anybody that lives with a man who is of a similar age, men's estrogen starts to increase. So they get more dirty. That's why men like Rod Stewart can go and have a baby at 65 and go, isn't this wonderful? Whereas women are just like, that's awful. And it's just because it's just like
hang on, if they get more and we get less, doesn't that literally mean we've reached a time in their life where they're supposed to look after us?
Yes.
Yeah.
My husband does all the washing and he fusses around all sorts of things. And I'm just like, off you go. Off you go, but just don't do it around me. And it's, it does shift and change. Their testosterone decreases, ours increases a little bit. We need it. So we can go and just do what we need to do now. And it doesn't matter whether someone's brought up kids or not. It doesn't matter. We've still been through all those phases, no matter what, of having the shifting hormones. They've all got a purpose, and we can fight them. And I'm not saying that any woman should put up with feeling terrible either, because I have no problem with somebody taking HRT and feeling better in themselves. I think that's great because we can. And I would never be prescriptive in that way, whether anybody should or shouldn't. Like, I think find your own medicine, whatever that happens to be. And it's, for me, like, from being a naturopath and homeopath for 25 years, I had no problem managing like the physical signs, but the emotional signs I needed to dive a lot deeper to manage. But I'm really pleased that I went through that, because I feel so much better now. And I really believe that I'm often saying that, like, my number one strategy for getting to 7 figures is self-care. And my definition of self-care is whatever helps you to feel emotionally safe. And that might be a bubble bath for somebody, but it might also be going to bed, or it might be hiking up a mountain, or drinking a bottle of gin. I don't care. Like, it's rarely gin that makes you feel safe. But
it might also be building out structures. It might also be getting rid of all of, like, I'm in this place where I'm rebuilding my business for the God knows how many times, right? And like, I'm like, this is the last time. So
sure. Well, I quote you on that.
I am not rebuilding it. I thought I knew what I was doing by bringing other people into my business, and it didn't work out, and this is not the time for that. But this time, there are some things that have to happen in order for a business to be built, in the same way as there are some things that have to happen for a house to be built, or for a cake.
Need the masculine structures.
Yeah.
Those physical structures need to be there.
They need to be there, and they need to be strong. And the stronger they are, the firmer the foundations, the broader the structures, the larger the building you can build, right? And there is an element of pushing against that and feeling scared of that, and that I often see, and I know I've definitely been there. I'm going to go into the kind of ADHD bit of this conversation. One of the reasons I hate building funnels is I can't remember what the fuck is in them, and so then I freak out. I don't want to send someone. The amount of times I've built half a funnel, think I finished it, send someone through it, no one's told me, I've gone to check on it, realized it's not there, been mortified, and then ended up in this, like, I'm not building any more funnels because I can't remember what's in them. So that simplify piece has been very, very helpful for me.
Yes. simple funnels is the answer. Still
And
the
a
funnels
funnel
are
is something, a
really,
funnel
really
is like a
simple.
story, right? It has a beginning, middle, and end. It doesn't have to have 18 stages. It just needs 3 bits, a beginning, a middle, and an end. Yeah.
And I think it's like it's like, and I know you're very passionate and very knowledgeable of human design, and it's just like, you know, like I'm a projector. Like I'm meant to work 2 or 3 hours a day. I'm not meant to fill my schedule to the brim. And but I'm also a Virgo, and in Sacred Money archetypes, I'm a ruler and maverick. So, like I want, it's kind of like I'm pushing against myself all the time because my ruler Virgo side wants to be doing things all the time, but my projector wants me to just walk away and have that spaciousness. And it's just like, okay, what does Sarah want? You know, like what's really working for me? And it really is that having good chunks of time to work, but having good chunks of time not to work. But that can look in any way. It could look like work to somebody else. It could look like I could be sitting in my chair with pen and paper and dreaming and scheming and stuff, but I'm actually stepping away.
Well, and this is why it's so, for me, it's why it's so important to know yourself. And
Yes.
you know, my work is all know yourself, trust yourself, express yourself. And everyone thinks they know themselves. And I would have said that you were a very self-aware woman who'd been in the personal development world for 25 years and thought she knew herself, right? And then it's like, actually, there's knowing yourself. There's really going in and understanding like what you're made of. And I have that thing, you know, so what is right for you with the simple single thing as a projector makes complete sense. I'm a manifesting generator, in case that wasn't obvious. So obvious. And it doesn't make any sense for me to have one thing, right?
Yes.
There's no magnetism to me, there's no movement in one thing. And I think, and I'm a very, very feminine energy, Leo sun, Sag moon, Sag rising. So I've got all of this kind of fire going on. But I have Jupiter and Saturn in Virgo, which means that I really need these like structures. And another way of looking at that is I can really see the whole way through my chart now where the autism is and where the ADHD is. And actually, so when people say, can you see it in people's human design? I'm like, absolutely, but it's going to be different for everybody. And understanding yourself on that level isn't about putting you into a box. It's about helping you create structures and spaciousness that work together for you to feel real pleasure with what it is that you're creating.
Yeah. And I don't only have one offer. I have more, but I don't, a lot of my clients don't have one offer, but it's leading with one, and it's not confusing your audience with one thing and with one thing that you're talking about, rather than jumping all over the place. Because a lot of my clients, and many Jennies as well, that they have to have different things going on them, and like one at a time, and that makes a huge difference to them. I've got a marketing program as well that I wasn't really leading with, but called Wholehearted Marketing, and it's like doing marketing with a wide open heart, and it's and I'm leaning into that more now, because it's where a lot of people, what they're ready for, and with some women it's all they need as well, to just to move them to the next stage. But so it's I'm not that rigid about one thing, but I needed to find my one thing that was gonna change everything in my business, and then everything falls in under that.
And I think as a projector, it makes complete sense. If you don't know what lens you're looking with, and you need to be looking with one lens, right? Like, what can people invite you to come and look at? Like, really, that's the thing. And once you've got that, of course it splays out into all these other things, and you have huge, vast wisdom and intelligence that we want from you. But it's creating a situation where people can know what they're inviting you in for, right?
Yeah, making it screamingly obvious.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Is there anything else about this journey that you think is important for people to know or to hear that we haven't really touched on?
How many weeks have you got? Like this journey. I think a lot of it is like letting go of sort of needing a guru or needing someone to, it's not like I always have a mentor, sometimes two. I'm always hiring someone to show me my brain.
Yeah.
But I can no longer work with anyone that has got a complicated business model and that I feel like I need to do things in a different way. I think I have had a habit, I've had a habit over the years of being drawn to people that appear on the surface to be very feminine, but then are highly masculine afterwards, and it's just shut me down. And I think a lot of that is like, I think that like the being trauma informed or just being aware of all of that should not be an add-on to coaching. It needs to be part of what people know before they're allowed to touch anybody, before they're allowed to work with. And of course we can't make people do any kind of training or anything, but you know, I've got a much better radar now into figuring out what I want and what I need. And that's why with my mastermind now, I have a return on investment guarantee, because I feel like that really shows that I am there for every single person, not just for the best girls in the class that do really well, that get paraded out there. And that's my way of helping to heal the coaching industry, of saying like, I've got your back. And if I can help you with something, somebody on my team will hop on a Zoom call with you and sort that out with you. And we just don't leave anyone flailing, and building in enough spaciousness into it so that people can, if they need to step aside and heal something or whatever, that there's time and space for that without them feeling like they're being left behind or missing out or anything. So I think that's an important thing that I want to bring to it, is that like it is a journey figuring out what kind of help and support you need to get to where you're going.
What kind of support you're offering, right? Like I see this, like what I'm really hearing you say is this journey has been a journey of embodying spaciousness, outside and outside and inside of your business, and on every level, like creating that within your environment, creating that within yourselves, creating that then within your communication, with it, like within everything. And that's not something that's going to happen overnight. And my thing is, I see people all the time wanting this quick fix.
And that's what just came to me, is like, it's not a race. It really is. And I'm always talking about like the tortoise or the hare. Be the tortoise, just plod along. The tortoise is incredibly wise. And it really is that the old cliche of like slow down to speed up is so true. When there's that urgency and panic, I am just like, you're going to burn out. Stop now, because like I've been doing this for so long. I just know that it really is not a race. And what's going on if you're in that much of a hurry? Who you're trying to prove it to, who you're trying to impress, what's really going on here, and what needs healing. And let's work out a strategy that's sustainable. And that's why a lot of my clients put in the 3-week month. They're like, that's genius, I'm doing that. I'm like, yes.
I did it a long time ago, and then it did slightly disappear at the end of Miss Fit for Life. It disappeared because I no longer had anyone to be accountable to. There's no team anymore. It's just me. And I shifted to a place where I don't get to my desk until 11.
Yeah.
And I done when my energy's done. And that shift, the kind of the diagnosis for me has given me this, like the diagnosis alongside the deepening of my human design, understanding, knowledge, embodiment, and like really taking that to the next level, where I really get that when I am managing, I'm always managing. And what that means is sometimes I've got loads, and sometimes I need to rest and go lie on the beach. And I listen to that and I act on it in a way that I didn't before. And actually that really helps me understand what I want to talk to you about in the Patreon piece of the podcast, because one of the things I was really scared of, and am maybe still a little bit nervous of, is menopause. Having spent so many years healing my cycle, spent so many years learning to live and grow a business with it, moving, all of that thing. I'm like, what happens when it goes? Like, it's this thing that I now lead with. I don't know how to deal with that. So I'm going to ask you questions and maybe have a little conversation about shifting the season, and working with your body and the rhythms and cycles, if you're open to that, in the Patreon podcast.
Absolutely.
If people want to come and find out more about you, about the work that you're offering, all of the things, where's the best place for them to come?
Best place is probably my website, thesarahleather.com, or pop onto my podcast. It's called Make a Million in Menopause.
I love that. I'm going to put all your links below so people can come and find you wherever they want. It's been a real pleasure to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.